Hello, my name is Matthew Pfeiffer with MattPfeifferCoaching.com. Thank you for tuning into my YouTube channel. On this channel, I talk about all things narcissism. I answer the questions of listeners who have questions about a narcissistic romantic partner, narcissistic family member, or a workplace dynamic. And if you have a question that you want me to answer on my YouTube channel, make sure you send it to justaskmatt at MattPfeifferCoaching.com. And make sure that you're very direct and to the point of what your question actually is, and you keep the email 2 to 3 paragraphs max, because I do read the email online, and to give the listener and give the people who are watching a better experience, it's just easier if it's not several pages long. So 2 to 3 paragraphs max, very direct to the point of what your question actually is. And also make sure that you hit the subscribe notification, make sure you hit the bell notification. I do upload new videos 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And so you'll be aware every time I upload a new video. With that being said, let me get to this email. So this email reads, hello Matt, I've come across your TikToks today and watched a bunch of your videos and some YouTubes. Thank you very much for your support. It's helped me a lot. I've been in 2 narcissistic relationships and not even knowing what a narcissist was. That is very, very common. A lot of people don't even realize that they were in a narcissistically abusive relationship until they've actually got out and they begin to deal with the residual effects. So I encourage you to continue to heal. I do know that you're in a relationship, but your healing process is exactly that, a process. It's a journey, not a destination. The first narcissist is who I desperately need help with. It's actually our son I'm more concerned with. My husband and I were married and together for 5 years. We separated when our son was 3. His dad didn't see him for almost a year until I had to go on welfare, and they demanded child support from him. His dad then decided that he needed to see his son. And this is something that people need to be aware of, because notice how he did not want to be a part of the son's life until child support was involved. And where I'm going with this, and you can see how this picture is how this story is starting to line up. He wanted to come back into the son's life, not because he really wanted to be a part of the son's life, but for punishment, right? When we cause a narcissistic injury, the narcissist feels entitled to punish. Notice how he wanted nothing to do with him when there was no child support. And then once child support was involved, all of a sudden he wanted to be highly involved. And so this email continues. Where are we at? I believe he has always wanted 50-50, so he didn't have to pay child support. The judge laughed at him, demanded child support, and continued 50-50. It's been 9 years of constant abuse and manipulation using our son to do so. So you can see right there that this narcissist is using the son as punishment. That's very common. Narcissists are not looking, when they have children, they're not looking to have children like what most people want to have children, to have a new generation and to build a legacy and that sort of thing. They have children for enmeshment, control, and to use the children as a way of access and as a way of control and abuse. My son, now a teen, has chosen to permanently stay at his dad's. This is common as well. Sometimes it goes towards the narcissist, sometimes it goes towards you. And this is common even in a more of a healthy type of dynamic as well. So he's chosen to stay at his dad's permanently. And she goes on to say, my son disrespects me, doesn't reply to my texts, ignores any contact of me trying to reach out to him. I've tried to open my son's eyes to his dad's manipulation and narcissism. Do not do this, right? So for those of you who may be in the same type of boat, do not try to open their eyes, right? Because what you're about to see is exactly the reason why you don't do this. And let me expand this beyond your children, right? To your friends, your family members, or let's say that you have a friend that is in a narcissistically abusive relationship. It's their job. Even your children, it's their job to see it. Allow for them to see it on their own time. When you try to bring it out, you'll see exactly what happens. I tried to open my son's eyes on his dad's manipulation and narcissism, but my son labels me as the bad guy. Why is that? I know his dad is the product of my son's behavior. It's always been during 50-50. I've had to reset him in a lot of ways. When you try to push that the other parent is manipulative and abusive, here's what you have to understand about children. When we're talking about any parent, in particular, an abusive parent in this type of situation, when you try to convince them that the other person is abusive, they see both good and bad, even if they do understand it, even if they agree that the person is abusive. But we're also talking about someone who's manipulative, right? And as this story goes on, you'll know that, and what most narcissists do, they begin to spoil and give the child any and everything that they want, right? And so what happens with the child, especially if they're in a situation where they're there permanently or 50-50, they have to comply with the narcissist demands. And the reason why they have to do this is for their own survival, right? So it would have been better, right, for your son to come home and to say, I see dad's manipulation, and then you validate his feelings and allow for him to see these things on his own. It's not too late for that, but let's continue on with this email. Currently, his dad gives him all that he wants. He's addicted to video games. I didn't allow this to take over my son's life on my custody days. This is how it started. It's actually not how it started. This is something that is very that a lot of people mistake, right? I'm not saying it didn't help, but a lot of people think that when the narcissist spoils a child, when the narcissist gives the child any and everything that they want, that's what convinces them to want to stay at the other house. It's actually not. And if you think about this for a second, even in a healthy dynamic, right? Two parents in the same home, no abuse, just a loving, happy, healthy home. There's typically one parent that gives more to the children than the other. I mean, it's common knowledge for people, that people will say, or kids will say things like, ask mom, she'll say yes, ask dad, he'll say yes, right? Because they know which parent is more lenient. It doesn't mean that they don't love the other parent equally. They just understand which parent that they can get whatever it is that they're looking for from, but they still love both parents equally. When someone is a victim of narcissistic abuse, they oftentimes, because the narcissist is very charismatic and this is how they've gotten over on a lot of adult situations, they think that this is working with the children. That's not how this happened, right? How this happened is that they vilified the child. They made the child feel like they were a victim of your abuse, that you actually did illustrate it earlier, that you were the bad guy, right? And part of the reason why, and this is nothing short of a parental alienation campaign, part of the reason why it was successful was because of this pushing of the agenda of manipulation. We have got to allow for our children to see things like this on their own. I'll tell you how to handle this here in a minute, though. This email continues. This is how it started. It also started with the current narcissist relationship that I have that I left in September. My son blames me for that one too. Notice how they're painting this person as a villain, painting the mother as a villain. My ex-husband and narcissist number 2 are talking behind my back, a smear campaign. I believe they are creating this whole mess to make it worse. I just received all my belongings from narcissist number 2 after 3 months. I've really reached a dark night of the soul. I gave up my home to be with narcissist number 2. I thought he was the one. I gave my car. Now my son is gone. These type of dynamics are very, very common. I live with my parents. I just want my relationship with my son. He's so swamped in the manipulation from his dad. I miss him so much. It's been 4 months since I've seen him. I'm broken inside, please help. Number one, I'm not sure how old your son is, right? And I don't know what the age of where they can permanently make those type of decisions, or if you guys actually did go to court, or if they just said, this is what it is. Number one, in this type of situation, because we're getting in pretty deep. Number one, you have got to work on yourself. That sounds counterintuitive, but going back to what I was telling you, that what the narcissist is actually doing is turning you into a villain to your son, right? So you need to you need to focus in on yourself, getting back on your feet. But meanwhile, right, so getting out of your parents' house, getting back to when things were good, when things were positive in your life, having your own place, being independent, right? Because as long as you're at your parents' house, and as long as you are still treading water, so to speak, the narcissist will continue to be able to spin this as though that there's something up with you, right? So get back on your feet, focus on yourself. All of these things are points of self-love. Number two, I don't care for this situation. You still don't allow your son to mistreat you. There needs to be some clear-cut boundaries on the way that he should be treating you. Number three, you need to stay close. I don't care if you need to write letters to your son every week, every day. You need to stay close. He needs to see your effort not only in yourself, but he needs to see your effort in trying to retain a relationship with him. It's likely in this type of situation, it's likely going to take longer than what you anticipate, longer than what you would like. We still need to allow for your son to see the manipulative tactics of his dad. And this is where it's going to happen. I can tell you exactly where it's going to happen. Let's talk about narcissism for a second. Let's talk about why his dad is doing this, right? Number one, because of punishment towards you. But here's the thing about narcissists is that when they're giving you something, they're trying to create enmeshment, right? And what is enmeshment? They might offer to buy a house. They might offer to get married. They might offer to try to have children with you. For you, that sounds great on the surface, but underneath, they're planning on using all of those things as a means of control. That's no different with your son. All the things that he's giving him, all of the things that he's planning on doing, he's doing for control. Well, your son is a kid right now, right? I don't care if he's a teen, he's still a kid. Eventually, he's going to want his own independence. The dad is not going to allow for that to happen. This is typically when kids begin to see these type of things, when they want to live an independent life and they're not able to. Society is going to help out with this as well, because his friends, if he starts if he starts dating, the person that he's with will likely start to talk about the manipulative tactics of the dad. The other thing that is important here, so like I said, it's very important that you stay close, right? I don't care if you have to write letters. I don't care. And once again, I cannot stress that you need to be patient, right? It's like planting seeds and continuing to water, right? But the other thing about this is that you might need to apologize to your son when he comes back around. The reason why an apology needs to happen is going back to once again, you're thinking that this happened because he was giving him video games. That's not what happened. Your son is upset. Your son's pissed. Your son's angry. That's really what's happening here, right? Your son could have gotten over the video games, but what he can't get over is whatever story or whatever narrative the dad created in his mind to cause him to feel like he's a victim. A lot of people don't understand that, when I tell them that you may need to apologize to your child, and they say things like, for what? I didn't do anything to him. You have to understand that even though you may know that this person is manipulative, you know that this person is a liar. To your son, that's still dad. And we're taught and we're made to believe that our parents wouldn't lie to us. Right? So these stories that he's telling him, to him, are real. Right? That right now, as it stands, is your son's truth. So to allow for some of these walls to come down, so to speak, depending, you may need to apologize. Right? You may need to apologize for not being there the way that he wanted you to. I don't know what you need to apologize for. That's going to be between you and your son when he circles back around. Right? But there's likely going to need to be some sort of apology, because that's what you do when someone is angry with you. Right? That might feel uncomfortable, but it is very important for you to reconstruct this relationship with your son. And that is going to be a very vital part, is this forgiveness piece. Is your son forgiving you for something that maybe you did, maybe you didn't do, right? Right now, we don't know what that is because he's not talking to you, right? The last piece that I would encourage you to do is to get involved in therapy for several reasons. Not only because of your son, because we're talking about your son, we're talking about two narcissists, right? And so we're hearing a lot of trauma, right? It wouldn't even hurt for you to get involved with a therapist that specializes in mending these type of relationships. They do exist out there. I'm not sure what state you're in. Sometimes you can have these things court mandated and that sort of thing, but it is worth it for you to maintain a visit, to maintain a relationship with your son. That's something that I would highly, highly encourage. So if you have a question that you'd like for me to answer on YouTube, make sure you send it to justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Again, that is justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure that you hit the subscribe notification, hit the bell notification. If you would like to work with me one-on-one, you can go to mattpfeiffercoaching.com, or you can go to the link down below. With that being said, I will talk to you soon.